All right, so here's how you're going to be cutting this 45-degree angle. So let's move down here. Okay, number one, I'm going to set the saw on my base, and I have it slightly sitting up on here. Remember, when we cut, we want to follow that line and leave a little bit on there. What I'm going to do now, watch my thumb, I'm going to grab the guard and pull the guard out of the way. My fingers are not curling under. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Fingers point away. So now I'm holding this over there. I even got my finger on the 2x4 board here. And now the same basic process like I did before. Start at an angle, small cuts, get it straight, drop, and complete the cut. This type of cut is a 45-degree angle cut across the face of the material. So let's talk about how that's done. We're going to mark it, because this is just a square cut, we're going to mark it again with our speed square. About 6 inches over, and we got it clamped. Next, we're going to set our saw for approximately 45-degree angle. So let's take a look closely at this saw and we'll see where to set it for 45. On our angle bracket here, at this point we have, I call it a little divot, looks like a V. That V is at a 90-degree angle. We want to set our saw for a 45-degree angle, and that little V is right there. And then when I look down in here, I'm going to see, and it's hard to see, there is a slight point on this mark of the saw. So to set for 45, loosen this, we bring this over until, let's see if we can see here, there's my little indicator mark that's attached to the saw, and there's the 45 indicator on the gauge. So that's 45 degrees, lock it down. Is it perfectly 45? No, but for framing, it's close enough for us. Okay, cutting a 45 is different than cutting just a straight 90-degree angle. Number one, I cannot start with my saw up. My saw has to be sitting perfectly flat. And I guarantee everyone that's a beginner, and even some intermediate students, when you start to cut, your saw is going to come down like that. It's heavy. You have to concentrate and keep this saw flat. That's the only way you can accurately make this cut. The second thing is, I cannot see over here unless I'm way down like so. I now have to look through, I call it the window. I'm looking through this side of the saw, the right-hand side. I can see everything. But it's really hard because I want to keep this side of my material, and the blade kind of hides it. So you have to judge where your saw blade's going to be in reference to this line. So the way we're going to do this, same thing. We're going to keep our saw flat. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a series of short cuts back and forth. Again, keeping the saw flat until I get about halfway through. And by then I should have my saw lined up with this pencil mark. The saw is heavy, it's at an angle, I guarantee it's going to want to drop. You have to concentrate and keep the saw so it's not rolling over. However you do that, maybe a hand here. Oh, and by the way, one last comment. This handle is just for carrying. Do not use this handle to control the saw. It's not necessary. All your control is right back here. So here's the cut. Now in this case, notice I didn't let the saw drop down. I simply just rolled it up to the board and completed my cut. So let's see it one more time. Let's try that one again. This type of cut is a challenge even for some experienced carpenters. This type of cut is called a compound angle. The saw is tilted at an angle 45 degrees more or less. And then across the face, we have another angle anywhere between 1 and 45 degrees. So how do we do that cut? First of all, remember our speed square. So we're going to come down here with our speed square. I'm going to hold here. Remember, we got the pivot side here, the handle. I'm going to pivot. I'm going to read back here on the angle portion. And let's do a 30 degree. So there's my 30, lines up with this edge, that edge, and we draw on what I call the ruler side. So there's a 30 degree angle. Our saw is set, in this case, 45 degree angle. And again, it can be any angle in between. This is a compound angle, but we're just going to set it at 45. Now, like doing our other 45 degree angle, when we have the saw down like this, I can't see in here, but I can see through the window down here. So, secondly, we have to retract the guard. We want this guard out of the way. This guard does its job, but on a compound angle, some saws, like this one, the guard actually almost gets in the way. So let's watch it and see what happens. So I'm going to set down, and again, remember, beginners, you're going to have your saw like this. No, it's got to be up flat. You got to concentrate on that. Next, I'm going to pull the guard out of the way, and I got my fingers away from the blade. Begin our cut, and we're going to sneak in and out just like we did before. Here we go. I'm sorry, I make it look easy. I've done this a few times. Beginners, you're really going to struggle with this cut, and believe me, there's some experienced carpenters have the same problem. Let me show you what it sounds and looks like when it's done wrong. If I don't keep my saw flat, it's going to sound ugly, look ugly, and smell ugly. So let's just see what it's going to look and sound like if I don't keep my saw flat or give myself those little cuts to make the line. Excuse me, to make it straight. Let's look at the cut. That's not blood. That's the red off the blade. But you can see my cut didn't follow the line. You visually saw and heard what the saw sounded like. We call it the ugly sound. It's making sounds we don't want to hear. So it's going to take lots of practice, lots of cutting of 2x4s, but it's one of those cuts that all carpenters must be able to do. So that's the end of this lesson on how to do the basic cuts with the skill saws. Our next lesson will be on cutting plywood, cutting larger material like 4x4s and 4x6s, and doing some basic notches. So we'll see you in the next video.